We're now going to continue with our conversation on Omnichannel. It's obviously a big focus for us this year. We have our panel on winning at Omnichannel in a customer-led world, and our panelists are going to discuss how seamless Omnichannel experiences can take place across different types of retailers. So it is great pleasure that I get to introduce our amazing speakers, Noam Paransky, Chief Omni and Innovation Officer at Tapestry, Amber Turley, VP of Omni Convenience and Customer Partnerships at Sephora, Brian Fagan, VP of Digital at Lowe's, Jason Grunberg, CMO at Bluecore, and Krystina Gustafson, Chief Content Officer at Trybe. Please join me in welcoming the panel.
I won't get that close.
There we go.
This thing goes a long ways back, huh?
Excellent.
Fair enough.
Well, thank you, Veronica. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you to my fabulous panelists. Really excited to be having this conversation here today. And I thought before we really dig into the meat of things, we could start with sort of a rapid-fire round-robin round to really sort of set the scene. 5 words or less. You cannot have more than 5. Stick to 5 or less. What is your biggest omnichannel priority today? We'll go down the line, so Noam, you're up first.
Everything, connecting things end to end. Was that 5 or 6?
I think end to end hyphenated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Dashes.
Yeah.
Carry the 1.
Shopping that fits your lifestyle.
Great.
Meeting customers where they are.
Excellent.
Orchestration.
Orchestration, ooh, interesting. A little bit of a curveball there, so we'll dig into that one in a little bit. Well, no, I'm gonna come back to you. Veronica, I think, teed us up really nicely at the beginning of the conference, talking about the increased importance of the store these days. I think we all saw a lot of investments going into digital capabilities in store, quite frankly, out of necessity during COVID, when people were enabling buy online, pick up in store, and some of those other experiences. But you could argue that the shift really went solidly back to digital experiences coming out of COVID. We're now seeing things shift again and come back to the importance of the store and investments in that experience. So talk to us a little bit about where Tapestry is on that journey and what some of the enabling capabilities you put into place are to bring that to life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, digital was a huge priority going into and through the pandemic. We built out a unified digital platform. We increased digital sales by more than 3x. All the stores were closed. Like, that's what we had to do, and we did it. We saw, one thing in the pandemic and then one thing coming out. So we saw customers yearning to engage with sales associates. So as an example, we had Kate Spade sales associates selling out of their closets. They would be showing the bags that they had in their closets. They were selling through clienteling. It was an indication of what was to come after the pandemic. And then post-pandemic, we've seen, and I think everyone has seen, consumers come back to the stores. They want to look, see, feel, touch. They want to engage with human beings. They also still want to engage digitally. So where we were doing the lion's share of our investment in technology and digital, we've really looked to even out those investments between digital and stores, enabling associates, focusing on clienteling tools, and even just fixing the foundation of our store system so that we're enabling and lifting up our store associates and not having them succeed in spite of our capabilities.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that unified platform as well, and when you're thinking about adding these capabilities in store, I would imagine there's also a tendency to want to lose some things to really kind of make this a cohesive experience. Like, what have been the trade-offs there? How have you sort of grown your tech stack capabilities while also keeping it simple?
Yeah, well, I mean, you want a simplified toolkit, for your teams, whether they're digital teams or in-store teams. And then one of the things that we've really tried to think about and apply as we've been thinking about our, Omni end-to-end experience is, digitization has been great, but going back to that Kate Spade story, people are looking for humanistic connection. So a lot of what we've also tried to think about is engaging with our store associates and giving them or leveraging them to give us guidance on how we think about the digital experience. So we've called it bringing the human into the digital, and that's been tremendously instructive. So we brought in teams of sales associates and we don't know why you do this on the website. This is absolutely not how we would engage with the customer. We do these things instead. We've employed that advice and it's been quite successful. So it's all about understanding all those points of connection, what really works and resonates with the consumer, and focusing on what they need.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of brings me back to maybe a decade or so ago when I was in Melissa's shoes at CNBC covering retail, and it was, the store isn't supposed to be the same as the website isn't supposed to be the same as the store, but maybe we got a little too far removed from those things, and getting the best practices from each is where we should be landing. Ryan, I want to move over to you because I know consultative selling is also very important at Lowe's. Very different product category. You have some people who are coming in pros, they know exactly what they're looking for, but then you have people like me that have absolutely no idea where to begin on a project. I know you guys have been doing a lot of work also to make sure that your store associates are better able to serve customers, but in a lot of ways you're kind of doing the inverse as Noam. Talk to me a little bit about how you're educating those store associates to give a better in-person experience.
Yeah, I really resonate with what Noam said, which is it really sits at the heart of Omni, is how do you take these human experiences and bring them digitally, and then think about the digital powers or superpowers that we can create for our associates in store. And so we started our Omni journey looking at how we take the sort of brand essence of Lowe's, which is that sort of red vest in aisle support. People go to the store to talk to this expert because you're not alone. I try my own home improvement projects, and my wife always tells me I need to pay a guy when they're done. But that's a reality of home improvement, right? Even if you're an expert plumber, the first time you take on an electrical job, you might not know what you're doing, right? And we see customers going to the store to talk to this expert in aisle, and so we started out to try to take that expertise and sort of represent that brand essence online. And we did it through a form of guided selling, just like you would talk about with your sales associates, right? It's people that are taking a consultative approach, question and answer, guiding customers to the right product to give them confidence. What's been really neat for us is as we've sort of honed that in digitally, we've started to deploy that in our physical stores because certainly staffing is always an option and opportunity. Not all customers want to talk to an associate, so deployment of QR codes to bring people into these digital experiences has been big. And the customers have really resonated, but customers weren't alone. And so what we found really exciting for us was, at the scale of Lowe's, you've got 300,000 associates across the store, and you've got 1,000,001 reasons a customer might come into a store, and they can't be experts everywhere. And so we found associates actually hitting these QR codes and basically prompting customers through the same consultative selling process, right? It's almost training education on demand to help the customer in the aisle. And so I think it really shows a great consideration for how Omni's come to life, both taking those best parts of the store and bringing them up into the digital universe and digital down to the store.
And that use case you're describing sounds an awful lot like where we're hearing a lot of companies testing generative AI. Are you guys exploring that? Is that live?
You can't go anywhere without talking generative AI, and I mean that in a really good way, right? Because it's so exciting, and certainly if all of us are even playing at home, right? It's so exciting to play on GPT and start to find little elements. But what I love about AI for us is sort of the exploration of how we do more conversational commerce, particularly in like a how-to environment, right? So the ability to send a customer home with really strong how-to instructions, installation guides, right? Quick prompts for in-the-moment, on-demand type knowledge sharing, I think is sort of how we envision AI coming to life from a customer interaction with the brand. And it feels really kind of germane for us in what we're trying to do to close confidence gaps.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, I know you guys have also been pretty busy working on some other aspects of your omnichannel strategy. You've signed a bunch of deals with marketplaces over the past couple of months. I think Shipt, Instacart, DoorDash. Correct me if any of those are incorrect.
You got them.
Okay, got all three. You're live on all three. Talk to me a little bit about the strategy there. Are you merchandising each marketplace differently? Are you seeing different types of customers on each? I know it's early stages.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And a bit of a humble strategy for us, right? Go back to wanting to meet customers where they are is sort of the realization that customers have preferred platforms in the digital ecosystem. And certainly I would love to sell everything off of Lowes.com that I can, but if you have a preference for one of these marketplaces out there, how can we be participative and meet you where you are? And I think for us, the kind of human truth we found is that very few customers are using multiple versions of this platform. And so it's a great way for us to tap a customer base in the platform of their choice and have Lowe's be present and sort of introduce the customer to the brand. And sort of Instacart speaks to the homeowner, but you think about DoorDash and Lowe's, people start scratching their head and it's like, hey, look, like, it's not hard to envision the professional on the job site ordering lunch and also going, hey, I was going to have to drive to Lowe's to pick up this whatever fill-in order. I get my burger and I get my hardware parts, and that's how we're seeing that application come to life. And frankly, we've been overwhelmed and excited by the response, and just ultimately, if a customer wants to order on one of those platforms, we want our brand to be there to support them.
Yeah, really interesting to hear about how certain platforms are more relevant to different types of shoppers, whether it's the pro or do-it-yourself customer. Amber, Sephora has actually been on these 3 platforms for quite some time now. I'd be really curious to hear your perspective as someone who's been at it for a while, what you're seeing in terms of how your shoppers are using those in concert with maybe your own branded website.
Sure. So, at Sephora, our priority is really around how do we drive convenience and seamlessness through our journey and really allowing our shoppers to do so, just like Ryan said, however, whenever, and wherever they want. And some of that might be on, other platforms. We think about this really in terms of the use case is going to be different at different times. So it may not even be a specific preferred channel. It may just be a specific preferred channel in this moment. And so we're really intentional about making sure that we're giving a plethora of options that allows our customers to shop across whatever makes sense for them in that time. I think the worst case is when you're like traveling and you forgot your products, right? Or maybe you have like a holiday gift last minute that you need to get. And so we've really leaned into some of these moments that we know our customers are experiencing and enabling channels for that. If you actually go on Sephora's app right now, we have our same-day delivery promotion for free for Father's Day. And we've done that for Mother's Day, for Valentine's Day, for Father's Day, really to lean into that use case of last-minute gifting. And we actually found that, our promo redeemers for this, 60% of them, it was their first time ever using same-day delivery with us. So we know that this is an example of a good moment for them that we're leaning into. And so, we've also done that on the third-party platforms. We've been live on Instacart since all the way back in 2020, and we're super proud of being the first prestige beauty retailer to do that. We've seen it drive just really great incrementality, tapping into a new customer base, and it really allows our shoppers to just do whatever works for them in that moment. And if it's Instacart or if it's DoorDash, so be it. We're happy to be there for them.
I know beauty is such a fascinating category to me because you sort of have this discovery element, but then you also have a replenishment component of this. Are you seeing the Instacart shopper lean more toward replenishment, or what kind of behavior are you seeing on those platforms?
So we definitely see, that there's high frequency from these platforms, but also from just that shopper. We see that our Omni shoppers in general are really driven to have high frequency, and our hypothesis is that around being easier, the more seamless, the easier we can be, the way we can show up for them, allows them to take out the question of where should I go? We just don't even want it to be a question. We want it to be so easy that they immediately know if I have a beauty need, I can go to Sephora and I can get it same day, I can get it through auto replenishment, I can get it through Instacart, through DoorDash, whatever way, or BOPUS, curbside, all the options. And so we've taken a really unified approach to how we think about it, and even introduced it into our loyalty program. So for example, we have Beauty Insider Challenges, and this really is a way that our Beauty Insiders, our loyalty members, can do active challenges and gain points for participating in activities. And so we introduced BOPUS as one of those activities to drive awareness around all of our convenience options, and saw that we had really impressive results. Over 73,000 of our Beauty Insiders actually participated in this challenge. So these are all the ways that we continue to drive awareness of convenience within Sephora, and then that drives greater incrementality, frequency, and higher spend from these customers. And that goes across the board really for all of these programs.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So that kind of frequency and repeat purchase it sounds like that big KPI that you're looking for versus kind of what someone's buying on a specific platform. I also want to talk to you a little bit about social commerce, because you guys were very early to that movement, I would say at least here in the US. I think part of being omnichannel is being omnipresent, to the point that Ryan was making before and you're making now, just kind of making sure that you're showing up where your customers are. As kind of one of the OGs in social commerce, how has your strategy evolved there, and how are you seeing that work in concert again with Sephora.com?
Yes, again, with the spirit of really being everywhere, to our customers, we thought about social commerce as one of those potential levers. And so we were early to join. We joined Instagram checkout in 2020. And what we found, however, was that our customers really wanted to come to Sephora.com. And I think part of that is we just have this incredible, unique journey. We have a product that really involves a lot of education and research that is very personal. And so our customers were still coming to Sephora.com. And so while we realized that social commerce and social is a really important point of discovery and exploration and some entertainment, ultimately Sephora.com was where our customers were going. And so since that time, we're really focusing more on enhancing our own property in order to complement the journey from social. And so let's say you go into a store and you do a skin scan, which is what we call, also known as color IQ, is what the name was before. And you could go in, scan it, and get your color match, essentially, in partnership with our beauty advisors. And once you have that, that actually loads to your profile. So your beauty preferences profile, which is end-to-end across wherever you're shopping, whether it's in store or online. And then when you go to Sephora.com, you're already surfaced the products and complexions that match to your shade. And so that's a feature that's really important and that isn't available on social commerce, right? And so these are the types of things that we recognize are really important for our customer and why they might want to come to Sephora. So we just continue to augment our own experience to complement when they're coming from social.
Yeah, I love that. So more a discovery mechanism, but then when you actually have to connect to this omni-channel experience and truly make it seamless, the more that you can kind of control that process, the easier it is to do. Jason, let's move over to you. I haven't forgotten about you just because you're sitting right there. For those of you guys in the audience who aren't as familiar with Bluecore, you guys are a leader in personalization and identity resolution, which feels important when we're talking about omni-channel experiences. Talk to us a little bit about the challenges that people are coming to you today with to help them solve.
Yeah, so we're seeing a few things. First, just like everyone has spoken about, there's been a lot of investments in loyalty, right? And we know so many organizations have been launching loyalty programs or investing in data warehouses, data lakes, and CDPs to help capture more data from their customers. What they're starting to move to now is, now that they've got all of this infrastructure around that customer base, it becomes, how do we drive incremental purchases out of those customers? And so how do we build out that personalized ecosystem for those loyal or top customers? But then really importantly, how do we move to those one-time buyers and move them into being 2-time, 3-time, and more and more and more? Because your customer that is loyal to you oftentimes looks very different from that person that's come and bought once, which typically represents about 85% of a customer file. So they're looking for solutions for how do we treat those individuals differently than those that are already consuming all that we have to offer, because right now that's where they know they're going to get incremental purchases out of. What we see from a technology perspective is that there's been so much investment in things like CDPs, and we're huge supporters of anything related to customer data, but that is very transactional in nature. The data set is built off of purchases, and so they don't have the same amount of data on shoppers, those that haven't purchased previously or those that have just purchased once. So retailers are investing in solutions like Bluecore that are going to give them more of that event streaming data to build out as much context on those shoppers or one-time buyers as they have on their loyal and retained customers.
And what signals are you looking for? How are you converting those people? And because I feel like this is something we've been talking about again for many, many years, but it's just very hard to do. So what are those signals you're looking at? Can you give us an example of how you've brought that to life?
Yeah, certainly. So we've kind of built out this whole idea of this globe of things that you could activate based on the customer lifecycle stage. And if somebody is just coming to your site for the first time, you're looking for how did they get there? What drove them inbound? Was it search? Was it direct? Where did they come from? And who did they look look like, and being able to do that in real time is really important. If it's somebody who is a loyal customer, and I think loyalty is a few different contexts, like it's not this binary thing of you're either in our loyalty program or not. There are brands that I'm loyal to that I buy the same things from every year at the same time. I consider myself a loyal customer, even though I'm not buying 4 times throughout the year or whatever that threshold looks like. The ability to know that that's me coming to that site and serve me with something that's relevant in that moment, even though I haven't been there in 12 months, is as important, I think, as being able to use all the context you have about those customers that are shopping with you more frequently.
Yeah, 100%, because I would imagine the purchase frequency for Amber shoppers is quite a bit different than Noam's, and is quite a bit different than Ryan's as well. We've debated a little bit as a group separately, actually, so this could be fun to do together, the importance of real-time personalization. What's your take on that?
So I think it's different for every business. Like, again, it's something that's not binary. It's not like everything has to be real time or nothing should be real time. It depends on the moment. I think about, an organization like Lowe's where oftentimes your shopper is coming because something's broken, right? And so there's a moment of urgency there. And Amber, you spoke a little bit about, like, there are people who come, who shop, and it's like they shop for things that they're replenishing, but then you also have the buyer who ran out of something and needs it that day. And so he, she, or they is very different in those two contexts. And Noam, for you, it's also, again, like very different business model, different purchase frequency. And so I think those instances and being able to recognize that context of that shopper is really important. I think about this idea of, like, while I'm in this world, and we are fundamentally at odds with our customers. Like, we want people to wake up every day and spend more money with us. And I don't wake up as a consumer thinking about how I'm gonna spend more money. And so right off the bat, right, like there's friction that exists with our customers. And so how can I think about personalization as a means to reduce that friction or bring us closer together? That's where the real solutions are. And I think, these are 3 brands that are really incredible examples of that. But if I'm coming through search, I know that's happening less and less, right? Like going to Google, putting in search terms. So many organizations don't keep that context of those search terms and then have their website reflect what somebody came inbound for. That's important to do in real time. If I abandon that session, it's less important to follow up like in real time with that context. And so again, it's where is that customer? What is he, she, or they looking for in that moment? Can you recognize them and recognize that context? That's where it's kind of magical around how do you build a strategy for real time.
Yeah, I know we've also talked a little bit about how real-time data doesn't always have to equate to personalization. Oftentimes it does, but Ryan, I know you've kind of talked about seasonality and just kind of, if there's a big storm, leveraging real-time data affect your merchandising strategy. I don't know if there are other ways that you guys are using it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can go nuts thinking about all the ways you can personalize, right? But I think that there's a few ways that you can think about personalization to aid a shopper along the journey. And for us, I think it's fun to hear some of the people talk about that emotional connection to the purchase, right? You hit it on the head for us at Lowe's. So 70% of our business roughly is maintenance or repair. And that means you're coming to Lowe's at a time when something went wrong. And as much as we think customers want to spend money with us, when you're unhappy and we want you to spend money with us, that gets even harder. And so how you connect with that emotion of, I know that you need it and you need it now, and you're unhappy and you don't know what you need. So most purchases at Lowe's happen every 3 to 7 years for some of these large purchases. And so kind of like the team was saying to the side, there's a lot of education that goes along with the journey. And so we're trying to personalize first around your level of expertise, right? How much or how little content we need to guide you. And once we understand that you're confident to make that purchase, then I'm trying to personalize style, collections, right? Ways for you to know, does it look great in my space? If we can join the sort of how-to with the style, for us, that's the magic at Lowe's. And I think each person would have a little different version of that story, but it's like, first we got to get you over that emotional moment of, like how do we pull you into the brand and get you excited about the brand? And then it's confidence to actually pull the trigger in the purchase. And those aren't the same thing.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I can also see this kind of laddering back to what you were talking about before with just kind of leveraging store associates' knowledge to influence your digital strategy. How real time is that? How quickly are you acting on those insights? And what does it take to actually get what you're hearing from the associates in stores to your website?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the feedback from associates to us around experience is not, so fundamentally consumed in real time. We talked some about generative AI. We launched a program recently for Coach, which we call Tell Rexy. Rexy is Coach's dinosaur mascot. And it's a tool where anyone in the field, store manager, associate, et cetera, can do text or push to talk to give us feedback around a variety of subjects. Then we're using large language models to synthesize that feedback, and then we inject it in our organization as knowledge. So we're always taking signal from the stores in, either on how to help them around the customer experience, around marketing campaigns. So like the sensors are always out there. But it's not like a real-time API saying, change this now, create 50 new dynamic segments. Like as we think about personalization, we think a lot less around prototypically that black box that people would talk about with 100,000 segments and dynamic content, that a machine is deciding, and more around what Jason, I think, was describing, which is how do we create relevance in the experience, and how do we better replicate what the associates do, who are our best personalization engines. And as we're getting implicit and explicit signal, how are we evolving the experience so that it's accretive step by step by step to them in their journey?
Yeah, makes sense, and also make sure you're not doing a lot of knee-jerk reactions. So it seems like a sound strategy. Amber, we've heard a couple of times the importance of unifying data, unifying tech stacks. Easier said than done. I know you recently oversaw a big project where you had to marry those two things together. I think it was related to your auto replenishment project that you were talking about a little bit earlier. Can you take us through the case study of what that looked like, some of the challenges you faced, and how you worked through them?
Sure. So we recognized that we were offering replenishment from the standpoint of personalized marketing, right? Oh, it looks like it might be time to replen, but we didn't have a program designed around making that process even easier. And so we took the insights and data from the existing replenishment behavioral data that we had, and we used that to help inform the way that we would design the program. So even making recommendations of how frequently you should choose to replenish this. Even though the customer could choose the replenishment, we were trying to help nudge them along. So with this program, we first started with, and I should step back and say everything that we do in convenience and Omni at Sephora is incredibly interrelated across teams. Nothing would work well if we weren't actually all bringing together kind of our tech, our all of the data that we have using merchandising, marketing, store operations, right? Everything has to come together. And so in this example, we really pulled what we knew from a marketing and data standpoint to help inform the insights to then design our auto replenishment program. We launched kind of a baseline auto replenishment where you as a customer can go in and choose to have something sent to you, which is amazing. You no longer have to worry about running out of your favorite product. We recommend to you what your replenishment frequency should look like based off of the data behavior that we had. Yeah.
Help me out.
And then we'll send it to you at that frequency and allow you to very easily modify it. So you can choose to pause, skip, change the date and frequency. And then we've been up-leveling that further. So we launched recently what we call Hot Deals, which is a partnership with our brands to accelerate some of those discount levels for up to 3 of your auto replenishments. And so this was really around how do we lean into that behavior where we knew auto replen clients are shopping 5 times more frequently. So when we bring you in and make this really easy for you, you become just incredibly sticky, right? And then on top of that, once you replenish one thing, you're more likely to add yet another category to it. So over 40% of our customers who are opting into auto replenishment are doing so across more than at least 2 categories. And so with our Hot Deals program, we will accelerate that discount for up to 3 to bring you in. So today, actually, on Sephora.com, we have a hot deal live right now with our shampoos and conditioners with brands like Amica and Kerastase and Day. And so this is a way that we drive awareness to our customers about the program, get them kind of brought into that journey of automatic replenishment in the most useful categories. So we do see auto replenishment is really high among shampoos, conditioners, skincare products. And then we take that data and further feed it back into the CRM loop. So we've now had that folded into our CRM journey. So it really had to be kind of end to end, from taking the data up front, using the insights to inform how we built it, and then feeding the data back into the loop.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I'm also just thinking about all the different teams that have to be involved in what you're describing. Obviously the merchandising team, the marketing team, product team, also your external brand partner, so I'm sure that was a big feat. We're running out of time, but Ryan, I want to ask you somewhat of a similar question, because I know I talked a little bit about the marketplace work that you guys have been doing, but you guys have been also doing a lot of improvements in your stores. I think you guys are about halfway through some refurbishments in order to make BOPIS a little bit more seamless. You're also investing in things like inventory visibility. So talk to me a little bit about some of those partnerships like Amber just did. How are you partnering with supply chain, with store ops to make sure that what you're putting out to customers is not going to create any blockers, but rather solve them?
I mean, internally we talk a lot about the we game, right? Anytime that the digital organization or any part of the organization does well, it's the we that comes together. And I think here in your story, we have some similar components, which is looking at the consumer behavior. How do we take any platform, whether it's digital, physical, and start to transform that around where we see the behavioral shift, right? And so pick up in stores become a bigger part of the business. It needs a bigger part of the footprint. I mean, when I first started, our store selling system was called Genesis, biblical, right? And it was a DOS green screen, and most people in this room may not know DOS green screens, but that's what it was. And so, I mean, we've up-leveled that, modernized that tech stack to allow our associate to sell better, to sell the endless aisle, right? Areas where we want to expand that store into the digital ecosystem. And so it doesn't happen alone, and certainly doesn't happen quick. And I think just your organizational alignment to be confident to how do I use that customer signal to inform the strategy is really the rallying point for us. Is everyone feels good about if we're solving for the customer, we'll ultimately solve for Lowe's for us.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, Noam, we'll wrap with you and ask you a similar question. You guys are actually so bought into this that your title changed. You're now overseeing an entire Omni team. What has that looked like in terms of who's reporting into you, and how has that really aligned the strategy at Tapestry, which not only has multiple geographies, but also multiple brands?
Yeah, organizational design is reflective of organization's kind of goals and objectives, right? So as we came out of the pandemic, we knew we had developed digital acumen, and we wanted to really continue our customer centricity journey around building that end-to-end experience. So the Omni team brings together our digital, tech, and brand teams, inclusive of leaders who own, typically the regional P&Ls, including the stores, to bring us together to tackle the biggest opportunities. So by creating a kind of larger footplate around our investments in customer experience and technology and people and process, it allows us to have some different conversations that we did in the past and hopefully create some bigger unlocks.
I love it. Well, thank you guys. I know I have to wrap with 3 takeaways, so I have more than 3, but I'll whittle it down. So first is that stores and online should be unique offerings, but rather than keeping them entirely separate, we should be learning from one another and maybe not as disparate as they were in the past. Next, I think consultative selling was a big theme that I wasn't necessarily anticipating, but all 4 of you, quite frankly, spoke about that to quite an extent, which is great. And then real-time data being important for more than just personalization and thinking about how you as an organization can leverage that for your business and your business case. So thank you all so much, and thank you to all of you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.